What is up, guys? It is your boy Winster, and I am back at it again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the TCG ban list for 2023 and helping you get ready so when Konami decides to drop it, I don't know when that's going to be, you're going to be well and ready and prepared. Be sure to do yourself a favor and make sure you guys subscribe to this channel if you guys want to see more great Yu-Gi-Oh content like this. Also, be sure to turn on the notifications to give you that head start so you can keep up with all the content that drops on this channel. Be sure to leave a like to help me out with the algorithm, and also, guys, let me know what you guys think of my predictions on the ban list in the comment section below, and let me know what your ban list would look like. With that being said, let's jump right into today's video. Getting started, the way we're going to categorize everything, we're going to go to cards that are going to go at 2 being semi-limited, cards are going to go at 1 being limited, and cards are going to go to 0 being outright completely banned in the main deck. Starting off the list, I wanted to talk about these semi-limited cards that you could only run 2 copies in the main deck. When I was thinking about this card, because I only have 1 on my semi-limited list, I thought about a lot of variables. How strong this card is in opening hand, how easy this card is to search, how strong this card is to top deck, and also the Konami randomness. And what I mean by that, Konami, a lot of the time when they drop a ban list, they just completely throw a left ball at you. You don't really understand why. It's not impacting the meta, but a lot of the times they'll just like, this card is no longer banned or this card is banned, and we'll be like, why? Those are the variables that I came into it, and I only have 1 card on the semi-limited list, and that is Branded Fusion. You're probably asking yourself, but Winster, you play Branded Fusion, and not only that, the deck isn't doing too great in the current meta. That is true. It is not. There is one aspect you need to look at. The deck is a very, very popular deck, and there's massive amounts of support coming for the Branded Despia strategy. So even more reason to believe that Konami would go in, well, you guys are gaining all the support, let me kind of hurt it a little bit because you guys are probably getting a little too much. And all the reasons that I previously explained, being a highly impactful card, being very important in the opening hand, and having numerous ways to search it. Aluber searching the Branded Fusion, Branded Opening special summoning Aluber searching the Branded Fusion, Foolish Burial sending Tragedy from deck to grave by card effect, and by that searching Aluber, normal summoning Aluber, and also just having Aluber as a normal summon gets you Branded Fusion. So there are many ways to search out the card. Those reasons, I think it would probably get hit to semi-limited. Jumping into the next segment, we're going to be talking about cards that I predict that are going to be going to limited. And limited meaning you could only run 1 copy of that card in your deck. Starting us off in the limited segment, we're going to be talking about the Sprite strategy. There are only 2 cards that I predict will go hit to 1, and 1 being those Sprite Blue. Sprite Blue is a very impactful card, not too crazy of a commitment. The only thing that he is required is controlling a level or link to monster. When you do special summon him, he searches a sprite monster from your deck and adds it to your hand, so it gives you a lot of consistency in terms of adding more bodies to your field, considering that is what the sprite strategy needs. Card number 2 being Sprite Starter. Sprite Starter is a very impactful and important card to the Sprite strategy. It gives you access to cards like Red or Carrot, depending on what negate you feel like you need at the moment, giving you access just to the body that you need on the field in order to activate the other sprite monsters in hand. So being an extender as well, normal summon, and then get an extra body to go into exceed plays, and also giving it that consistency every turn that you need, because it can be searched out by cards like Sprite Jet. It does restrict your access to only level 2, rank 2, and link 2 plays. So going into Sky Cavalry, swinging, going into Downerd, and then going into Zeus, having blowout cards like that is very vital, but it isn't necessary to the Sprite strategy. The deck did fumble a little bit in the rankings since the losing of Ronin Totem and not having consistent access to Totally Awesome. The next card I wanted to talk about is a very controversial card. A card that a lot of lower tier decks are running so they could fight against the top tier giants of the current meta. A card that has a lot of outcry for Konami to come in and put some sort of restriction or limitation to the consistency of the card. D-Shifter being a very strong candidate for potentially getting hit with something, but in my personal opinion, I think it's more than likely going to get hit to 1. There's a lot of outcry from the players in the current format wanting some sort of limitation to the card, being able to be discard for cost and being a quick effect. The only restriction not being able to activate the card if there's any cards in the graveyard. is some sort of limitation, but if you are opening this card and have the ability to run 3 copies in the main, you're more than likely going to see it pretty often. And turning off the graveyard for any kind of deck currently is a death sentence. The Tear Limited Shizu strategy getting hit the hardest when getting turned the graveyard off, considering that they have to mill for their card effects. So I personally think that that card is definitely the biggest contender to getting hit to 1. The next card I wanted to talk about is probably the newest card on my ban list predictions, and it is currently very, very popular in the TCG format. And that is Beastial Magnum Hut. Magnum Hut, being a searcher for any dragon card except itself from your deck, is super strong. And with all the Beastials having that DD Crow-like effect where they target one light or dark monster in either graveyard, it being a quick effect when your opponent controls a monster, banish that card and then special summon. Magnum Hut, being a searcher upon its special summon, is super strong, and every top tier deck currently is running the Bestial package: 3 Magnum Hut, maybe 2 Druid Swarm, and 1 Saronir. So addressing the elephant in the room, guys, you know where we're going to talk about it. We're going to be talking about Tear Limited Shizu. The deck is by far the best deck I have seen and in recent memory of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. I have been playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for about a year and a half to 2 years, and I have yet to see a tier 0 up until now. So I also wanted to make a list that makes sense and also doesn't restrict players who are genuinely interested in the tier limit strategy or just being fans of it to not be able to play what they consider is their favorite deck or an archetype that they like the art, because a lot of people do like the art when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. So when I was thinking of the list and what to restrict in the strategy, I thought the names themselves are by far the most important thing in the strategy, and also restricting the amount of names that you see on mills, because not only do you need to get lucky, you need to mill a lot more in order to get a lot more effects off. The Shizu strategy obviously mills a tremendous amount, but it's going to make that deck commit to milling a lot more than it needs to in order to get some sort of effects. So I think the smarter move that Konami needs to make is 1 Havnis, 1 Merly, 1 Sharon, 1 Kid Kalos, and 1 Field Spell. Restricting the names is going to lower the consistency by a tremendous amount, and also the Field Spell being as strong as it is, if you were to remove the Field Spell, the deck is almost unplayable, and removing Kid Kalos is definitely something that I don't think would be really smart. Not restrict the players who are genuinely interested playing the archetype and being fans of it and enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh like the rest of us. So I think that's how Konami would probably play it, because again, I don't think these Shizus are the problem. I think the tier elements and their effects are. Jumping into the last segment, guys, we're going to be talking about completely banned. Who's getting knocked the fuck out of the fucking card game right now? There are 4 cards that are potentially going to get banned in my personal opinion, and these cards are the most generic, the least amount of setback, the least amount of restrictions, and they could be splashed in any and all decks in the current format. So the first card I wanted to talk about, Instant Fusion. Yes, there are restrictions on what you could bring out. It has to be level 5 or lower, but that's it. It just needs to be a fusion monster, and it's going to get this out for free. And it's just 1,000 life points. Yes, it can attack, and yes, it's destroyed at the end turn, but it's just too generic. It is a very vital card in the current tier limited Shizu strategy because it brings out the important fusion monster, but this could be splashing anything. So I think banning this card in the current format is probably going to be the most impactful thing that they can do. The next card I wanted to talk about is a card that is very impactful in the current format, and it is ran in a very top tier level deck. It is ran in the Flundery strategy, and it is Windberry Statue. This card prevents any kind of special summoning from anyone that isn't wind. Considering that the Flundery strategy, all the monsters are wind, it does nothing against you, but it does everything against your opponent, because if you're playing against your opponent that has everything but wind, then it's kind of GG's at that point. And I definitely could see this card getting hit to 0, considering how strong that deck is already with all the floodgates that it could run. N-Pen being somewhat of a skill drain like effect on the field, being able to run D-Shifter, and then being able to run Windbarrier Statue. That deck is just super strong in the current format. So the next card we're talking about is a card that is already on the current ban list. It is limited to 1, so you're only allowed to run 1 copy, considering how generic it is. Considering where the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG card game is going and how strong this card type is and how it keeps getting power crept by the next archetype and the next archetype, terraforming getting hit to 0 is definitely a good idea in my personal opinion, because in reality that's just a fourth copy of whatever strong field spell for your strong archetype, and it getting hit to 0 is definitely a great possibility because it just searches whatever you need, and it is just a fourth copy of whatever field spell. The last card on my list, guys, this is honestly gonna hurt a lot because I run this card and I would hate to see it get to 0, but it makes sense. It does make a lot of sense because it is a very strong and a very generic card. Super Poly. Super Poly in and of itself, its effect isn't that strong because there are already cards like it that exist in the game. Being able to fusion summon with anything on the field, right? But that's not what makes Super Poly strong. What makes Super Poly strong, quick play spell card, so you could activate it at any point in time. You could set it like a trap. That's super strong. But that in and of itself, that isn't even the strongest part of the card. The strongest part of the card is that there is no ability to respond to the card. And what I mean by that is to activate an effect in response to it, being a monster spell or trap. Not being able to respond to Super Poly is too good in the current format. Considering what you'll probably be facing against, you're going to be able to go into Dragostapelia, you're going to go into some sort of fusion, Garura, and get some sort of advantage off of that, and not only do that but potentially board wipe your opponent. That's why I personally think that it is probably in Konami's best bet to probably ban the card because it is just too strong in the current format. That is going to be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe bell and be sure to hit that notification. If you want to see any of my content live, guys, I have a lot of other social media. I'm a big streamer. If you want to check that out at twitch.tv/EvilWinster. I have a TikTok, and I also have a Discord if you guys want to join in on the conversation over there in my community. Pretty active if you want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, fighting games. But I won't take up any more of your time, guys. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I had a great time, and I hope you guys continue to come back. My name is Winster, and you guys have a rest of your day. Peace out.